We're talking about how to start an LLC in New York State. And what you can see behind me here is a checklist that we're going to be running through. And this is going to be our guide for you as you're getting your LLC set up. And it's really important because we're going to be talking about things such as how to avoid the LLC dumpster fire. And what I mean by that is you set up your LLC and then all of a sudden 2-3 years out, it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing for you, which is limiting your liability because something has been messed up along the way. Things that you should be aware of is what an LLC actually does. And you should also know terms such as piercing the corporate veil, registered agents, commingling funds, pass-through taxation, and how LLC renewals work. And we're going to be talking about all of that in this video. We're also going to talk about the impact of affiliate marketing on this space and how a lot of times people get led astray and into the wrong decision for setting up their LLC. You'll see that we have this checklist that we're going to walk through, but more importantly, what I want to do is I want to start out first about understanding what your LLC actually does for you. It offers limited liability protection, and it also offers pass-through taxation. Why don't we first talk about what the LLC does as far as protecting you and your personal assets. Let's say that you own a coffee shop, right? And you're the business owner and you don't set up an LLC. So you just do like a sole proprietorship. As a business owner, everything on the left-hand side, your personal home, car, and bank account are connected to you. But everything on the right-hand side, your business bank account, the point of sale, the espresso machine, the lights, all of that is connected to you. So if you were to be sued by somebody, what would happen is if they win that court case, they can not only come after your business assets, but your personal assets as well. Now, if you own an LLC that owns the coffee shop, it looks different. What this red line is in the middle is it's called the corporate veil. It creates a division between your personal and business assets. And again, what that attorney is going to try to do that's suing you is they're going to try to pierce the corporate veil. The way they do that is they find cracks in your LLC. So things that you didn't set up correctly or you didn't maintain it properly. We're going to be talking about all these things throughout this video to make sure that you have a proper division between your personal and business assets and your LLC is doing what it's supposed to be doing for you. That's why this is a video series, because we're going to be talking about these things in each video to make sure that your LLC is set up correctly. I do want to take a moment to talk about an explanation of pass-through taxation because sometimes people get a little confused with LLCs. They're like, oh, I'm setting it up so I can save on taxes. You're going to have business deductions, whether you do a sole proprietorship or an LLC, but people get a little bit confused here. So why don't we talk about the Acme Coffee LLC, really creative name. You grossed $140,000 of income in the last year. The business had $90,000 of expenses, so then we have a $50,000 of net profit. What happens is that $50,000 is going to flow through to the business owner, and then the IRS is taxing the business owner. So that's why you can think of it like pass through. It's like flow through or passing through to the business owner. So the IRS is not taxing the LLC. They're taxing you, the business owner, on those net profits. I just wanted to make you aware of that. In the bonus section of this, which is going to be covered in video 3, we're going to talk about future tax savings because there are ways that you can actually elect an S-Corp designation for your LLC in the future as you start earning more income to help reduce your taxes. And another cool thing in this, and this is all included for free when you get this checklist, is you can use this AI chatbot. So you can say like starting an LLC in New York State. This is going to give you a checklist of items here that you consider and different things that you need to know when you're setting up your LLC that we're also going to be covering in this video. But a really important one that I'm going to do right now is additional requirements for setting up an LLC in New York State. Hopefully this works because I spelled requirements wrong. But what you need to know is that in LLC, there's a publication requirement that this chatbot is telling us about right now. And what that is right here, and it's kind of small font, so I'll highlight it, is it's saying after filing the articles of organization, LLCs in New York are required to publish a notice of formation in 2 newspapers for 6 consecutive weeks. I know it's ridiculous and it's antiquated, but that's what New York requires. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that chatbot and why this document is more than just a checklist. It's a living, breathing document that's going to help you set up your LLC and also save on taxes and be able to look at things such as your yearly accounting calendar is huge. And this we're also going to explain in future videos in this series as we go through things. But let's go through this checklist to start your LLC. Before LLC formation, you want to get this checklist, which we've talked about. Then you also want to decide which route you want to go. That's the state site, LLC Services, or attorney. What I'll say is the New York State website is better than most states. The downside of it is it's not going to help you with additional services. It's not going to help you on things on the federal level or the local level. And it's not going to help you with things such as like setting up an EIN or getting your business bank account, all those things that an LLC service can do. LLC services are great, but there's upsells there, right? It's going to cost sometimes a little bit more money, but a lot of packages offer a free plus state fee. The difference in cost between the state website and going with an online legal tool are very small now. And then you can also go through a business attorney, and we're going to talk about what questions you should consider if you should talk to a business attorney. And that's going to be something we're going to go into in a lot of detail in the next video as we explore these different options for LLC formation. You want to decide on a business name for your LLC. What I'll say is two things. The LLC name isn't as important as a lot of people make it out to be. You do need a unique name in your state, but if your name doesn't match up, let's say your business kind of readjusts in the future, you can have a DBA or fictitious name. These are things that live underneath the LLC. So people see that as the brand name and the LLC is a different name. So your LLC could just be your name, but then you could have a cool brand name that lives underneath it. So it's not as much pressure as you might make it out to be. But also you can use tools such as ChatGPT. Let me see if I can open this up here. So using ChatGPT, you can give it a prompt give me a fun name for a coffee shop that helps people feel unique, because that's the emotion I want people to feel in this coffee shop. And I like using tools like this, not necessarily to get the final name, but to help me brainstorm. It says, how about Brewnique Cafe? And you can say, give me 9 more names, right? And using these modern tools is really helpful because it just makes things so much more streamlined for you. Why don't we take this, Espresso Yourself Cafe, all right? I'm gonna copy this because we're gonna need this name here in a minute. So we've decided on a business name, but now we need to search availability of it. What we have here is a straight directory list, and we're gonna go down to New York, all right? And under search by, we're gonna put in entity name, and we're gonna put in the entity name here, and then we're gonna say that this is a limited liability company and search the database. What you can see here is there's no business entities were found. Please refine your search criteria. That's good. That tells us that that's available. But let's say that the entity name was the Buffalo Bills, which, sorry, they're the only team actually physically in New York. I'm just going to click all of these to make sure that that isn't taken. And we search this database. Well, look at this. There's all these names that are already taken. So this would be an example of where you may want to go back to the drawing board to think of a new name, because you can't use a name that somebody else is already using in the state of New York. Now, let's say you have a unique name, you know what you're going to do. Now you have to actually get your LLC set up. First step is registering your LLC name, and then you need to write your articles of organization and file your articles of organization. The easiest analogy I have for this is when you register your name, that's kind of like buying the domain name for your business, right? You don't actually have the website set up and you haven't done all of that work yet, but you're making sure that you're actually acquiring that name and nobody scoops it up in front of you. So the first step is registering that LLC name, and then writing your articles of organization, and then filing your articles of organization. Well, let's talk about how you do that. Again, we have a state directory list here for the articles of organization. These are the bullet points right here that go into filing, or the information that you're going to need for your articles of organization. I'm not going to bore you with these details. You can find that on the page. But then when we click on New York here, it's going to open up this document right here. Why don't we go through this a little bit here? So we have your contact information, your request for filing of document, exact name of entity, which we figured out is available. Document type, this is articles of organization. Request for your copies of certificate of state, exact name of entity. You're going to fill out all this information. So in this section, we're just saying essentially where is it, right? The name of it, the county within, the Secretary of State. So it's a pretty easy document to fill out and send to the state. It's kind of small in here, but you can see that as I'm making this video, there's a $200 filing fee that is going to be paid to the state. You can do this online through the state website, or you can actually, if you're 100 years old, print this up and mail it into the state as well. But just know that there's no way around that state filing fee if you go directly through the state or an online legal service, or if you're talking to an attorney, you're going to pay those fees. Now, let's say you went through all this information, you get your articles of organization, and you mail it into the state. Next, we're going to assign a registered agent. What a registered agent is it's a third party, and they handle important documentation and communication for your business. Now, let's go back to the coffee shop example. When you have that registered agent, and in the case of you being sued, they're going to make sure that you get that service of process notice. That's what's a fancy way of saying you have to show up to court. So they're going to make sure that you're showing up to court and you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's in these situations. Registered agent is really important, and they must be in your state. They have to have a physical mailing address within your state, not a PO box. One of the downsides of the state websites is they'll just be like, well, who is it? And then they kind of leave it to your own devices, and it's kind of confusing. What we're going to talk about in the next video is how different online legal tools can offer that service to you. And one of them actually even offers it for free for the first year. So that's another way that you can save on money with your registered agent. Create and sign an LLC operating agreement. New York State for an LLC requires this. It's one of 5 states that requires you to have an operating agreement in hand when you're getting set up. kind of similar to the articles of organization in terms of like, all right, what's the name? Where's the business address? Who are the owners of this LLC? But it's also going to highlight roles and responsibilities amongst those people who own the LLC. This is really important. And I always say it's kind of like one of those situations where an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. When you have a good, rock solid operating agreement in place day one, if you run into issues years out of owning your business, a lot of times those issues are going to be highlighted in that operating agreement. So let's say you have a partner, but they want to exit the business. Well, that's going to be spelled out in the operating agreement. So you don't have to spend $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 going through this lengthy legal battle because you took the time setting up a rock solid operating agreement day one. But again, this is something that the state's not going to help you with, but online legal tools and business attorneys will. So that's why a lot of times if you're looking at getting an LLC set up in New York State, it's not the greatest route going through the state website because there's too many other things you have to consider that they just don't help you with along the way. Let's talk about setting up an EIN. So this is after LLC formation. There's an IRS link here, and this is where you can apply for your employment identification number. What that is it's like a social security number from the IRS for your business. So it helps them identify your business. This is something that makes sense to set up right away. It's not necessarily required, but if you have employees and you're putting them on payroll, you're going to need an EIN. When you get your business bank account set up, it's much easier to give them your EIN and you look more official than if you're just like, hey, here's my social security number. There's a lot of value in getting that EIN set up day one. Also, you want to obtain business licenses and permits for your LLC. There's a good SBA resource that goes into this that's included with this document. But what you need to know is you need to look into this on the federal level, the state level, and then also local level. Good example for this is, let's say you're opening up a brewery. When you do that, you're making beer, you're distributing beer perhaps, and then maybe you're selling beer on your locations. These can require different licenses and permits when you're selling beer. Other examples is like you're starting a construction company. Well, there's certain licenses and permits, and you may need different licenses and permits on the state level and also your local level. One of the things you can do is like if you're located in a town, you can call the town clerk and get this figured out. And then you also go through the state website and also check on the federal level. But again, a lot of times if you have a business attorney or these online legal tools, it's an extra fee, but they can do this research for you and make sure that you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's as a new business owner. So we covered what an LLC does, piercing the corporate veil, registered agents. We're going to get into commingling funds. But in the future videos, we're going to get into also how LLC renewals work. But I want to talk quickly about affiliate marketing and how it can lead you astray. There are no affiliate links in the description of this video. All I have is a link to this document. And the reason is that people, when it comes to the different methods or options for forming your LLC, a lot of people who make this content will just push you to an LLC service where they make the largest commission. What I want to do in the next video is go over the fees associated with setting up your LLC. So you're going to know what it costs down to the dollar, not only today, but 5 years out of owning an LLC in New York State. But also really important, we're going to talk about questions worth asking and these situations that you may want to consider talking to a business attorney and not going through the state website or an online legal tool. And we're going to spell all that out in the next video on the screen. And again, make sure you get this checklist. There'll be a link in the description below, and I'll catch you in the next video.